Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tech Talks. This is Ryan from IK here. If you don't know, Tech Talk is one piece of a daily streaming series from IK Multimedia where we go over different tips and tricks for all your different IK gear. This week, we're going to be going over iRig Stomp IO. And to show our appreciation for you guys, the users, we're going to be giving away a user to the favorite collection of any user at the end of this episode. So make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned to the very end, and you're going to enter your chance to win your choice of AmpliTube collection. Great time to jump in and really learn everything while everyone's still kind of stuck at home and all of this is kind of getting figured out. But sorry about that. Looks like my video might have froze there for a second. My apologies if you're just tuning in. This is Tech Talks. I'm Ryan. We're going to be going over the iRig Stomp IO today. And if you're tuning in to the very end, you will enter your chance to win your choice of AmpliTube collection. So let's go ahead and jump in here and we'll start with the setup. So I have my Mac set up here. And when you first plug in the iRig Stomp IO, it's going to be detected immediately, which is really cool. You can see it already hooks up. But if you didn't have that happen, you can go through and go to the audio MIDI setup and really go in depth here. You notice the iRig Stomp IO is for in, out, and you have a buffer size and MIDI input. If you're not familiar with buffer size, this is your latency control. The lower this value goes, the less latency you experience, but the more processing power it pulls, and vice versa. I like to stick with 128. That's what we're going to use for this video. Powerful machines going to 64 or lower, and some machines that are slower might need to use 256 or higher. When you are mixing and mastering, I suggest using a higher value like 1024 or 2048. That'll get you the best, the most amount of processing power for whatever you're doing, which is great for mixing and mastering. Cool. So actually, one more thing. You see iRig Stomp IO control here. If you're not familiar, if you look at the back of the iRig Stomp IO, there is 2 MIDI ports on the back, and you can also use this as a general MIDI controller. So port 1 is going to be the general MIDI control option, and iRig Stomp IO control is going to be the live mode. So when you've selected the live mode here, the iRig Stomp IO control, you have this nice little tile where you can switch between live and the actual rig page. On the back of the iRig Stomp IO, you can see in my video in the bottom right-hand corner, you have a guitar cable plugged all the way into the corner on the right. That's going to be a combo jack, so you can plug in a mic, you can plug in a guitar. It's great for vocalists if you want vocal pedals while you're going and performing live. Next to this is a 1/4-inch headphone output if you want to practice at home. And then you have 2 line-level outputs. And those are going to be the 2 cables that you see color-coordinated on the back of the Stomp IO. And what those are doing is sending to my iRig stream, which is how I'm broadcasting to you guys today. Normally, I would suggest sending these to something like a PA system, a mixer, something live. It is line level, so it's going to give you a crystal clear signal to front of house, to monitors, anything like that. Technically, it's line level, so I wouldn't send it directly to an amplifier, but you certainly can if you dial in the volumes correctly. Normally, line level is different than a high Z input, which is on a guitar amplifier. So as long as you do it right, I've done it before. I've done it live. And then on top of that, you're going to see just to the left, there's a USB cable sticking out of the back there. There's also a mini DIN port for iOS use. So if anybody uses AmpliTube for iPad, iPhone, connects directly there. All the same functionality. Today, we're just focusing on Mac PC, though. And you also have 2 other ports in the back, which are going to be MIDI 5-pin and 2 external controls for any kind of expression pedal, sustain pedal, stuff like that. Cool. So since it's a little bit of a complicated, it's not too complicated, but because it's a little bit more in depth than most controllers, I'm going to go ahead and walk through a demonstration of how these different foot pedals work. I'm going to give you an example of a couple of different tones that you can get, and yeah, so let's go ahead and let's check this out. If you're just tuning in now, stay tuned to the very end, and you will enter a chance to win your choice of an AmpliTube collection. So it's tailored to you guys, the users. We want to give back to you guys. So let's check this out. Okay, so you can see my first preset here. You have the full chain, and you can see I have 1 through 4. Those are going to be my different stomp controls when I am in preset mode. So if I want to switch presets, all I have to do is hit this handy button. And you can see it switched through my presets nice and easily. And underneath, you're going to see stomp control. If you want to switch to stomp control, you hold the bottom 2 pedals down, and it actually says stomp in between the 2 pedals to kind of remind you. So check this out. Sorry about that. I got some funky shoes on today. You can see right there, that was tap tempo mode. So if you hold the 4th pedal down, it goes to tap tempo. So here, let me show you some of the other controls real quick. This is going to bring you to a tuner if you hold pedal 3 down. And here, let's actually go ahead. I'm going to restart AmpliTube, and I'm going to show you guys how it connected automatically real quick, and just kind of give you guys the lowdown on how, if you were doing this at home, what would be happening. So there you can see it automatically detected right as I launched. And I have control over my stomps. Now you can see that little stomp mode button on the left-hand side of the unit is on. And now I'm going to have control of all my different stomps for that preset. So this is going to be my classic rock preset. And you see I have a delay and a reverb on the right side of the chain. So check this out, how easy it is to engage these. And you can see there is some feedback on screen as I switch through these controls. And you see the expression pedal here actually has a virtual switch on it. So when I press down on the top, it engages and disengages that. So I have a wah pedal. Right, which is kind of cool. And you can set up a bunch of different controls here. If you notice, I have a stomp pedal on slot 1, but slots 3 and 4 are going to be my rack. And I'm going to show you that on screen. I've just right-clicked and MIDI learned these, and it automatically sets it up perfect. I can see exactly what I'm controlling. So you can see these 2 modules here, and they're shown on screen and upper in this upper right-hand corner, which is really cool. Kind of walks you through the whole process of what your chain is, so you can just look to it really quick live playing. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and we're going to check out a couple of the other features. You can see how I can control all 4 of these presets. I'm going to play through them a little bit and just demo how this works, how all the stomps turn on and off as you play. And what I've done with this pedal is you can hear the little bit of slap back delay on that first delay pedal, but I have over here a nice control for my opto tremolo. And I'm going to control the speed with my wah pedal, and I'm going to turn the depth control from 50 to 100% when I press the virtual pedal on the actual Stomp IO. Sorry about that. All right, so check this out. You can see when I press that down, it actually is going to change the depth. And then I change the rate with my foot as I press down. Very useful. It's really cool if you set the expression pedal to something you wouldn't traditionally be able to do, like the feedback on a delay pedal. That's a really cool effect where you could just ride it out, get a really big feedback loop, and then cut it. So that's how we were switching through all these presets. Let's check out my crunch preset. So you hear a little bit of crunch right there. That's going to be the Brian May AC30, which is a triple setup. And if you look, I have two different controls. I have a fuzz on the front and I have delay. Let's go ahead and turn these on. If you notice, I also have a volume control here, which is really effective. So let's check out that delay. Little funky delay, and then you have a fuzz up here, which is really cool for some heavier stuff. Or some like older blues. So a little bit of crunch right there. Let's go ahead and we're going to exit back out to preset mode. You can see the stop mode button is turning on and off with all these things that I'm changing through. And let's get that rock tone dialed up. You can see I do have an expression pedal here, which is set to my wah. All right, so let's turn that off. And I'm just going to play one real riff, and then I'm going to go onto my metal preset, and I'm going to show you guys how to use the looper after that. Okay, sorry about that. Looks like my iRig Stomp IO window might have frozen a little bit for you guys. Let me try and reconnect that for you. Okay, and I see a pretty good question here. Will the general mode and iRig Stomp IO live mode work at the same time? Technically, if you're using a DAW, you're not going to be using the live mode. So they would be working independently there, but that's a really good question. I'm going to show you guys in a second, right after I show you the looper, how it all connects to the DAW. If you notice, everything that I've set up here is going to be saved to the preset, and it's going to recall later. So all of your setup in standalone mode is what you're going to use when you're going live in your Pro Tools session, your Cubase session, anything like that. So here, let's go ahead and let's check out this looper really quick. Sorry about that. Looks like my feed is still a little bit frozen here. All right, so let's just continue here, and I'll walk you guys through the looper. If you look at the interface on the iRig Stomp IO, you have the first two pedals say looper in the middle of them. When you hold those down, it enters the loop mode, and that's going to allow you to use pedal 3 to start or stop your loop, and use pedal 4 to play all or clear your loop. So you're going to have 4 different slots for your loop, which you can export individually and then throw into your DAW session later, or you can use them just to play back with the mixer, which is great for panning out your different signals. So if you want to put a rhythm on the left, put your lead on the right, you want to double track guitars. Very useful stuff, especially when you're going into the DAW later to mess around with your sounds. You don't lose anything. You don't have to pull anything from an SSD card. It's already on your computer. Super easy. All you have to do is right click here. You can import files as well. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to throw a loop. And you can see export and export mix, which is going to be all of these guys processed. And the cool thing about this looper is it's going to record the affected signal, which is really useful when you want to switch tones. If you want to, say, play a bass, then switch over to guitar, and then switch over to, say, a synthesizer or something to fill out the sound. Yeah, so really useful tool. So let's go ahead. I'm going to launch the DAW real quick. Okay, so I've actually saved a session here. I'm going to walk you guys through the setup. So let's take this Stomp IO off the screen just so I could walk you through it. But as I said before, is once you've set up in standalone, you're good to go in the DAW. I've set a AmpliTube session right here. So you just drag in from your audio units, VST3, VST2, onto your track. Once you have AmpliTube here, you'll see the interface pop up, and you want to create a MIDI track. Now this isn't required in all DAWs, but most DAWs handle audio and MIDI separately. So what we're doing here is we're going to route MIDI into the computer using my iRig Stomp IO, and that's going to be your input-output section here, your IO, and it's going to take iRig Stomp IO control, and we're going to send it out to my guitar audio track, which has AmpliTube 4 on it. All right, so check this out. I'm going to be able to switch through all my different presets with just the quick switch of a button. I didn't have to set anything up. Once you've recalled the presets, all the stomps recall, all the different subtle adjustments that you've made, like that opto tremolo control I had earlier, it's all pulling up into the DAW. Check this out. Cool. So you saw all of those different switches, and in my upper left-hand corner, you're going to see slot 1 through 4. That's my crunch, rock. Then I have my clean blues, and I've saved all these presets before. If you'd like to, say, take a collection preset, let's grab something random from Fender 2, and let's take this guy, the Deluxe Clean. Let's say I want to set this to any of my 4 stomps in AmpliTube 4. I'm going to go to this section and click the slot I'd like to replace it with. So once I click here, it's going to ask, do you really want to change that? Select yes, and it's going to put that on your list here. So now if I were to use Program Change 5, I will be able to load this really quickly. And if you look on the actual iRig Stomp IO control, there are arrows next to the first 2 pedals. Now what those are used for is to go bank up and bank down. If you hold pedal 1, it goes up a bank. If you hold pedal 2, it goes up a bank. Sorry if I said that backwards. You can see on the interface itself where things are going to be controlled. So let's go ahead. Check out the stomp section is all going to recall with my different presets too. So I'm going to scroll through these. We're about to wrap up here in a little bit. So what we're going to do at the end of the video is give away a copy of AmpliTube 4. It's going to be the collection of your choice. So if you don't have an IK Multimedia account, go ahead, create one now. We're going to use that to give you guys the serial at the end of the episode. Make sure to pause the video, like and subscribe right now just so you don't miss the next video for next week. We do giveaways every week. We also have a live stream on Tuesdays and Wednesdays on YouTube Live, and then every other day on Instagram Live. Look in the description for some links. You can see my Stomp IO is still a little bit frozen on screen, but what I wanted to show you was just all of the different parts of the interface. You can see how everything is labeled nice and easily. You have stomp mode, which is going to be pedals 3 and 4 if you hold those down, and it is shown by an LED on the top left of the pedal. It's going to say stomp mode, and it's going to illuminate or it's going to turn off. If you use the right 2 pedals, pedal 1 and 2, you're going to go into the looper mode, which is really cool when you're using standalone. That is not something you can use in the DAW. But of course, you can use the iRig Stomp IO's general MIDI controller. So if you have the Ableton looper, you can figure something out and get all of that control. Super easy, super quick. Awesome. So I'm going to go over just the audio MIDI setup in the DAW real quick, just in case I missed that earlier. When you open the DAW, you have an audio tab. Normally, this is going to be your audio MIDI setup. It's very similar to standalone. You're going to select Stomp IO as you're in, as you're out, and then set a buffer size. You notice this is at 512. That's usually the default that it gives you. It's a very good middle ground. But remember to set it to 128 or 256 if you're going to be playing live. If you're mixing and mastering, stick to 1024 or 248. That's going to allow more processing power because you're not worrying about latency in the mixing and mastering process. So the next thing you want to look at is MIDI. So we want to send MIDI to and from the Stomp IO. So we're going to turn on the iRig Stomp IO control track section. That's going to allow you to control any of the effects on the track. If you wanted to go a step further, you can put the remote section on, which is going to allow transport controls and stuff like that. And you don't really need to worry about sync unless you're using something with MIDI clock like the Uno Synth or Uno Drum. So just a couple of quick little tips. But it looks like we're getting to the end of the episode here, so let's go ahead and get ready to give away a copy of AmpliTube 4, the collection of your guys' choice. Let's get the... I'll wait for my mod to announce the winner, but I'll give you guys a second to create an account before I ask the question. All right. So I see a couple of things open up in the chat box. Go ahead and jump in the conversation. If you wanted 2 audio sources, one from Stomp IO and one for the mic in Ableton, what you can do on Mac is create an aggregate IO, which is going to be in the audio MIDI setup of the actual Mac system. And it's going to allow you to pick 2 different inputs from 2 different audio interfaces and route them to the same program. That's very useful on Mac. And on PC, you have programs like ACO for All, which can do the same. I also see with 128 samples will be big latency. Okay, that is true. For some players, you might notice 128, but other players might not. And it really comes down to when you're playing along with something, because that's when you really can hear the subtle different nuances between what you're playing and what you're playing back to. So personally, I don't mind 128. Unless it's getting into a very shred situation where I need to hit multiple notes very fast, very on time. And that's when I'll go down to 64. But of course, I have a system that's designed for recording. Not everybody does. And that's the really cool thing about Stomp IO is that you don't need to be. You can just use the standalone program just to practice your guitar with the looper, just to write guitar parts, send them to your buddies, and build projects like you would with a band, all from the remote location of your home. It's awesome. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and ask the question real quick. And if you missed earlier, we went over the iRig Stomp IO and how to connect it in the standalone and also how to connect it in the DAW and how all of the settings that you set up in the standalone program are going to transfer over to the DAW with no extra steps needed. So all you have to do is open up standalone, set up your presets, launch your DAW, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and give away this copy of AmpliTube 4. It's going to be the collection of your choice. So let's go ahead and throw the answer to the following question in the comments. And remember, there are no substitutions for the free product. So if you have all the collections, you don't need to jump into this one, but we'll be doing further giveaways in the future. So go ahead and shoot in the comment box or in the chat box. Do you use a DI? If you do, why do you use one? And if you don't, why don't you use one? What do you guys think about the impacts on how it can affect your guitar tone and how it can really help get your signal into an audio interface that might not be designed for a direct, say, guitar or bass pickup connection? So go ahead, throw your answer in the chat. That was, again, do you guys use a DI box? If you do, give us a reason why. And if you don't, tell us why you've never thought about it. And if you guys get a good signal without one. We want to hear what you guys have to think here. And yeah, jump in the chat. All we need for you guys to win is an IK Multimedia username. And we're going to give you guys the collection of AmpliTube that you guys see fit. So let's go ahead and we're going to randomly pick a winner. Let's let a couple of answers come in. And then once we have them, we're going to let our social team pick a winner. Wow, great answer. Not anymore with iRig Stomp IO. The input is actually really great on the Stomp IO. It does have a really great input. AXIO also has a really great input. See, that's going to be one thing that kind of sets the AXIO apart from most interfaces, is that it has an input designed for guitar. Not every interface has that. Some just have a high Z input that is static across all guitars, and some have just a line level input that some people try to use. The best part about the AXIO is that you can dial the impedance to match the pickups that you're using. You can pick the active or you can pick the passive pickups that you are dialing in, which is really cool because I don't know if anybody's familiar, the metal guys, I'm sure, you can really clip an input on an audio interface fast with active pickups. And that's kind of one of the things about the AXIO that is different. You can pretty much use any of your 7 strings, 8 strings, super active pickups, completely passive pickups, and they're all going to sound great no matter what you plug them into. Awesome. So we're seeing a bunch of great answers here about the DI box. And if you missed the question, we're asking why you guys, or if you guys use DI boxes. If not, why? If you do, tell us how it benefits you. We're going to let a couple more answers roll in here. And I'm going to just scroll through the interface so you guys can see what we were using today for all of these different presets. And if you look on screen, you'll see my audio MIDI setup for iRig Stomp IO. Super easy on Mac, core audio. The MIDI section, just set up track in here and you're good to go. You don't need anything else. When you launch the standalone program, you're going to see all of your presets just pop up nice and easy. And this nice live mode appear. And this is your audio MIDI setup again. I do see some chat about latency times, and some people really do get into it there. Like our mod was saying, it's a really good answer. 64 buffer size would be 4 to 5 milliseconds, which is equivalent to standing 4 or 5 feet from a real amp, because in real life, there is latency from the signal coming from your amp to your ear. So there's no real latency-free situation, but the software does control it, and it's usually not a problem with technology nowadays. It used to be a big problem. You used to have to bounce tracks and stuff like that. Some heavier plugins still require you to do so on some machines, but yeah, just it depends on your ear. I see some people saying 30 milliseconds is unplayable. That would be quite the extreme. Oh, and another thing is when you're recording, if you have something like a DI box, you have a through output, like the Z-Tone DI and the Z-Tone Buffer Boost. They have through, which can go to your amp, so you don't have any latency while you're playing with your amp, but you can still get the clean tone in the computer, which is really cool, because if you don't have the perfect recording studio, and say maybe you have some extra reflections in your room, you might not get the best tone from your amp, but you know the guitar performance that you had was perfect. So you're not losing anything just from being in the home studio. Nice. Trying to set up the PC as the amp sim to get rid of an old combo. That's always a good choice. I personally, I love the option of being able to use headphones. I'm in an apartment, so I can't always crank it. You know, when I'm in a practice space, I love being able to turn up tubes and hear them really soar, but this really gets the ideas on paper. You don't forget what you just played, and you can really progress as a musician, especially with the looper. For me, that's how I practice all my different scales, all my different modes. You know, you can loop a major chord and play the major scale over it, loop a minor chord. You know, anything's possible. Yeah, you can also virtual reamp, which I see David Pyle just mentioned. You can take that clean signal and send it straight into AmpliTube. You can throw, you know, any of these amps from this entire virtual signal chain here, much more than you could probably store at your house, depending on where you are. You have a whole preset section with, you know, just days and days of gear, complete drop downs here of just dedicated, insane modules. They all sound really cool. Check out our custom shop video that goes over how to trial all this stuff. If you're not familiar, it's a really useful video. I'm going to show you guys, you don't have to purchase anything to try it all out. That's what we wanted to get across from the custom shop versions, is that we want you guys to have it in your hands, to tell us, like, do you want to use this? Then we want you to buy it. If you're not going to buy it, or if you're not going to use it, we don't necessarily want you to spend money on it and not be happy with the purchase. So use the trial function. There's a great FAQ on it. There's a whole video on it. And if you're just tuning in now, like and subscribe. We're going to be giving away another piece of software next week. And we have full details of our promotions and our live stream schedule in the description. Check that out. All right, cool. So last chance, make an IK Multimedia account if you guys don't have one. We're about to pick a winner. They're going to win their choice of AmpliTube collection. Unique gift for this week's live stream. But if you guys want to win anything next week or in the upcoming streams, you guys want to see anything interesting, throw a comment. Let us know what you guys want to see. We're doing this for you guys. And we really want to see how we can benefit our users. We want to give back to you guys. So let's go ahead and pick the winner here. Looks like my social team is going to pick Tim Graham. Congratulations. Thank you so much for tuning in and for participating. We greatly appreciate all of you guys. We're really happy that you guys are tuning in here and making these live streams a success. So go ahead and shoot us your username and the collection that you'd like to use. So yeah, let us know the collection you'd like to use and your username, and we'll shoot this over into your account directly. No, you don't need to do anything. It'll be there in the next 24 or 48 hours, depending. So congratulations again, and thank you all for tuning in. You know, like and subscribe. If you didn't win this week, there is a chance that you can win next week or the following week. It's not a knowledge-based winner. We just want to give back some gear to the people who really matter. And if you guys didn't win today, go ahead and check out our promotions page. There's a link in the description. Today's the last day for 50% off Moto Drum. This whole month, we're going to be giving 15% off the Uno Drum and Synth. If you're buying iLoud micro monitors, you're going to get T-Rex 5 for free through end of the month. And if you buy MTMs, you're going to get T-Rex Deluxe for free. So if you're starting a studio, great time to do so. On top of that, if you love these AmpliTube titles and you didn't win, check out the 50% off branded titles, the June Partner Celebration. It's not just AmpliTube stuff, though. You're going to see T-Rex, Leslie, and Hammond in there. Good titles, great prices. And then finally, Summer Sounds, which is up to 35% off of Sample Tank 4, which is a great virtual instrument. And if you're not very familiar, check out the video. It goes over how to use it in your DAW and how you can really use it to get the most out of your you can use Sample Tank 4 and get the most out of your sonic palette. And thank you guys so much for sticking with us this week. I was streaming from my Mac to my PC, and I appreciate all of you guys tuning in and, you know, giving us the views. Make sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned to all of our live streams in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have some interesting stuff for you guys. Yeah, thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.